Well, guys, new comic book days tomorrow. Let's take a look at what's coming out so I can tell you what's on the pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is the pull list. It's my weekly video series where I tell you of the books coming out this week. This time we're looking at Wednesday, October 25th. I'm going to tell you what's on my pull list that I'm definitely grabbing, what's on the maybe list, stuff I just haven't quite decided on, and the books that are on the chopping block, books I just can't continue buying anymore. Now, this week is a pretty average new comic book day for me. I wouldn't say it's incredibly heavy, although we are just getting to the edge of my budget total. So let's go ahead and get started with the book that I am most excited for. And some of you are going to scratch your heads at this because I'm scratching my head as well. But the book I am most excited about this week is The Amazing Spider-Man, issue number 36, written by Zeb Wells. This issue has art by Ed McGuinness. And this is kind of a prelude into the next era of Spider-Man. So Ed McGuinness, I think, has the next 2 or 3 issues before we jump into the gang war event. Now, the last story arc was also written by Zeb Wells, but it had art by Patrick Gleason. It was some of the most exciting stuff that I had been following from Spider-Man. I'm a sucker for Gleason art. Admittedly, the story arc is a lot darker than I think anyone would expect for Spider-Man. And this issue deals with the aftermath. After seeing Peter being dark for whatever reason that I won't spoil here, we got to figure out, okay, how does New York feel about him? How do his loved ones feel about him? How does the world feel about Spider-Man now that he's taken on such a dark role, now that he's let that darkness sort of flow through him for a bit? Now, as far as I can tell, this is supposed to be Peter Parker back to normal and getting ready for his old usual crime fighting shtick. But we got to see where things are going. Ed McGuinness is on art, which means Rec Rap is probably going to make another appearance, and I've been enjoying Rec Rap. I enjoy Ed McGuinness on Spider-Man, honestly. It's a really cartoony vibe. I don't know. The story coming out of such a dark story, I feel like Ed McGuinness is going to be like a jolt. But hey, we'll see how it's done. All this, I still got Spider-Man on the pull list because it hasn't done enough to like make me hate it. But I've not like fallen over the hills, head over heels in love with it either. It's just there. But I do love the Miles Morales book right now. And I know that I'm going to have to pick up the Peter Parker Spider-Man in order to fully get what's happening in the Miles book once Gang War starts. And do I really want to have 3 issues missing out of this run? No. So because of that, Amazing Spider-Man issue 36 out this week with a cover price of $4.99. $4.99. Anyway, I'm grabbing cover A. And since we're talking about Marvel Comics, let's go ahead with the next book on the Marvel pull list. The only other book on the Marvel pull list is Jean Grey, issue number 3. Jean Grey, written by Louise Simonson, art by Bernard Chang. Now, this started out, I was kind of skeptical going into this. In fact, I didn't even buy issue number 1 the month of release because I just figured it was going to be one of those throwaway stories by a writer whose prime has passed. Not to say that Louise can't write, but her heyday has passed. Maybe that's the best way to put that. Telling a story from her heyday that won't resonate with me because I'm a newer fan, right? And issue 1 surprised me. It's very much intertwined with the fall of X and stuff happening in present day. And then issue 2 kind of threw me for a loop, right? We basically have this series is sort of looking at the influence of the Phoenix Force into Jean Grey's life and where she's gone wrong, where she could have done better. And in the last issue, we saw the Phoenix Force sort of take over Wolverine and what happens with the Phoenix Force in those hands. And we ended with like a sort of teaser that Jean Grey's got to confront Madeline Pryor next. And we have firmly landed in territory that I'm really not familiar with. What saves it is the fact that it's Bernard Chang on art. But because most of my knowledge of the X-Men comes post House of X, we're walking into unfamiliar territory. And I think your mileage and your enjoyment of this series is going to vary depending on how much deep knowledge of the X-Men you have. Did you read the Claremont run? Did you read Simonson's run on X Factor with the original team and all that? How deep is your knowledge of Jean Grey? Did you read Inferno? Do you care about Madeline Pryor? All those things are going to inform how much you like this miniseries, I assume. But it's been a pretty good standalone story so far, so I'm going to give issue 3 a shot. Cover price on that is $3.99, and I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it for the Marvel books on the pull list. So as long as I stick to the list, those are going to cost me $9 this week. Now let's move over to the distinguished competition. Over at DC Comics, the pull list is quite heavy as usual, starting with Action Comics issue 1058. Can't even lie. This is the beginning of a new story arc. It's called The Dark Mirror. But maybe it's the second issue in the new story arc. But anyway, ever since the Night Terrors event just interrupted everything that I was reading at DC Comics, I've kind of forgotten what's been going on, and I've been a little bit slower to jump back in. So I was enjoying Action Comics before. This is some of the last Philip Kennedy Johnson that we're going to get on Action Comics, and he's got this issue and 2 more before the Superman All-Stars initiative starts next year. So I'm going to enjoy it while we can enjoy it. But I can't lie, I'm kind of mad that Phil Kennedy Johnson's leaving the title. I'm going to savor it while I can, though. Action Comics issue 1058 has a cover price of $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book on the DC Comics pull list is Batman Catwoman, The Gotham War, Red Hood, issue number 2. This is another in that sort of short tie-in series of tying Red Hood into the Batman Catwoman Gotham War. You could very well call it the Batman Catwoman Red Hood Gotham War. They are the main characters at play here. And Batman did something crazy to Red Hood. Remember last month I told you that the Red Hood number 1 you were going to need, it was going to be essential? Well, it wasn't quite essential. You probably could have done without it. But based on what Batman has done to Red Hood, which I won't spoil here, I got to see how it impacts him in his own book. So Batman, Catwoman, Gotham War, Red Hood, issue number 2 has now moved up to must-read status, and it's got a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the next book on the DC Comics pull list, we're staying in Gotham for a little bit. This is Detective Comics issue 1075. This is finally the final issue of the whole Gotham Nocturne storyline. I think we had Gotham Nocturne Act 1, which was 8 issues, and then we got Gotham Nocturne Act 2, which is another 8 issues. Has it been 8 issues? It's been quite a few issues. I don't know. Feels like 8 issues, but it's finally ending in this issue, and then we're getting a new story arc featuring art by Jason Sean Alexander, starting with issue 1076. But let's not put the cart before the horse. This one's it's written by Ram V, of course, with art by Francisco Francavilla. And listen, Francisco Francavilla drawing anything is a reason to buy the book. So say no more. Say less, fam, as the kids say. Detective Comics issue 1075 is Batman versus his inner demons, because why not? Cover price on this one is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Next book on the DC pull list is honestly a maybe list book. This is right teetering on the edge of the chopping block for me. And that is The Flash, issue number 2. The Flash, written by Cy Spurrier, with art by Mike Deodato Jr. Now, I'm still a little salty because I was enjoying Jeremy Adams writing Wally West Flash. And that's not what we got. We now have Cy Spurrier writing Wally West Flash. Now, I'm going to explain what was good about issue 1, and then I'll explain why I'm on the fence on issue 2, right? So the basic premise of issue 1 is that Wally West has always been the fastest Flash ever because of his belief in the Speed Force. He doesn't need to understand it as some sort of scientific phenomenon. He just believes in it like you would believe in a religion or a god, right? And because of his unflinching faith in the Speed Force, he's the fastest man alive. Well, when his powers start glitching and other things start happening, it's okay, well, maybe I don't know as much about the Speed Force as I thought. And, in a way, it's Wally West sort of questioning his God. And then at the same time, we're seeing these like forces on the other side of the Speed Force or wherever they are, slowly putting things in play. And that on its face, that description sounds awesome. It sounds like a religious, a mystical, a supernatural take on the Flash that we haven't seen. And it is. And as I digest the story, I'm like, okay, that's good. But it seems like the whole doesn't feel as good as the sum of its parts. Or I don't know how you say that phrase. But as I digest the story, my summary sounds great. But the execution is just a little clunky. It's something that's just it's not quite firing on all cylinders. It feels like Cy Spurrier was trying to introduce too much in issue 1. It was just kind of disparate threads I had to sort of weave together myself, which is fine. But I don't know, something about it was not quite as enjoyable as in issue 1 as I feel it could have been. Add that to the fact that Mike Deodato's art is a very dark tone compared to what we had when Jeremy Adams was on the run, and the artists that were joined with him. So we went to a really light and airy Flash family book to a really dark Flash family book. But there were a lot of things that I liked about it. Linda Park and how she's feeling about being a new mom and not having superpowers. There's a lot of things there to chew on that are good or that have the potential to be great. It's not quite there yet, so I'm going to give it another issue. But this book is definitely teetering on the chopping block. Cover price on The Flash, issue number 2, is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on the DC Comics pull list is Wonder Woman, issue number 2. Wonder Woman written by Tom King, art by Daniel Sampere. Issue 1 was a solid debut issue, but I was a little underwhelmed, mostly because Wonder Woman didn't really show up in earnest until like the last couple of pages. When she did show up, she showed up and showed out, but it just kind of left a little bit more to be desired. I think this issue number 2 is where we're going to see the series really kick off, like for real. And I'm excited about the prospects. Daniel Sampere's art is amazing. Tom King's writing is good enough anyway. But I feel like we haven't quite gotten into the story like we could. But we do know that Amazons are outlawed from being on U.S. soil. And Wonder Woman's got to find a way to be the bridge between her people and humanity or mankind, as she always has been, but in different ways. Because now she's fighting the law. But anyway, Wonder Woman issue number 2 has got a cover price of $4.99. It's time for some action. I'm grabbing cover A. And that's it for the DC books on the pull list. As long as I stick to the list, those will cost me $23 this week. So let's skip on over to the indies, where it's a pretty heavy indie week as well, starting with Disney Villains Hades issue number 3 from Dynamite Entertainment. This series kind of snuck up on me. I didn't realize it was coming. And, I've been talking about like the different Disney villains that I would like to see. I still need a Disney villains Jafar, but whatever. Hades was the Disney villains book that I did not expect, but made all the sense in the world. Like if you watch the Hercules animated series, if you watch the Hercules original animated film, then you are familiar with Hades and his antics. And he's trying to find a way to stick it to the gods of Mount Olympus, right? And show why he is smarter than them all. And so he's trying to like find this golden fleece that'll finally prove how powerful he is. And, he's recruiting ragtag heroes or would-be heroes from Greek mythology. And it's fun for me because I vaguely remember all these people from 7th grade. And it's also fun because the voice of the character is spot on. Like it is straight up Hades from the movie. And it's just fun watching the antics. We know he's going to lose, but it's even that much more engaging to see how and what he's doing during the losses, right? It's been really cool. So cover price on Disney Villains Hades number 3 is $3.99. And I'm grabbing cover A. Next up on the pull list is Firepower, issue 28. Firepower, written by Robert Kirkman with art by Chris Samney, coming to you from Skybound Entertainment. Firepower has been a great series. Owen went on a quest to learn more about his family, ends up discovering the firepower, ends up being like that sort of newbie that walks into the dojo and all of a sudden masters a skill everybody's been trying to master forever. And then as soon as he does, danger comes, and it's danger for him, it's danger for his family, it's danger for his, what do you call them? Dojo mates, his temple, those people. And we're watching the sort of final battle play out, the big scheme of the dragon dude. And hey, we're in the final moments. There's not much I can say without spoiling anything. I feel like anyone who's reading this can see where it's going, knows most likely how it's going to end. I think there's room for probably a couple of surprise deaths or so, but we know where it's going. But it doesn't make it any less entertaining. The series is super well done. I'm going to miss it when it's gone. 3 issues left. It's over after issue 30. But issue 28 has a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up, also from Dynamite Entertainment, is Negaduck, issue number 2. So Negaduck, basically like the Dark Wing of Darkwing's Rogues Gallery. He's literally like Darkwing's evil clone dude. And it's funny to see Darkwing's dark opposite be so similar. So if you're reading the regular Darkwing Duck series, you don't have to in order to read this. But it's been a great study in how Darkwing like just wants to be the greatest hero ever and like just doesn't want to work with a team and just doesn't want to be shown up ever. And Negaduck's got the same thing going on. He wants to be the greatest villain in the history of villainy. And he keeps every time he comes up with an idea, like other people have beat him to it. They're doing it more effectively. So that's been fun. It's just fun to watch these antics play out. I've really been loving the Darkwing Duck and the whole St. Canard universe from Dynamite Entertainment. It really makes me just want them to reboot the Darkwing cartoon. I thought they were going to do that back when DuckTales was still running. And it feels like there was a moment where that reboot was imminent. And now that moment has passed. But anyway, if you want to visit St. Canard, there's plenty from Dynamite coming between Negaduck, between the Darkwing Duck main series, and Justice Ducks coming in December. Plenty for you to chew on for all you Duck fans. So grab that. Negaduck issue number 2 has a cover price of $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on my pull list this week, you guessed it, The Walking Dead Deluxe, issue 75. Why was it so important for us to get to 75 before Halloween? I don't know, but we've done it. Congrats. By George, he's done it. Robert Kirkman. This is a reprint of The Walking Dead in single issues, this time in full color with deluxe cardstock covers and commentary and all that stuff. If you've been enjoying it, I assume you won't not enjoy it now. Cover price on this one's $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And with that, the indie total, my indie books on this pull list are going to cost me $16 this week, which brings my grand total just under budget. And I guess it is a stacked week for me this week. Grand total of $48 if I buy everything on the pull list. Can't lie, I really was considering not buying The Flash, but I'll give it another issue. And that's it for my pull list. Now, a couple of books didn't make my pull list, but they are on the radar. Maybe you should be on the lookout for them. First up being Amazon's Attack, issue number 1. I didn't write down the creative team. I should note that it's not Tom King, and it's also not Stephanie Williams, who've been writing a lot of like Nubia and Amazon's stuff. It's a team that I'm just not familiar with at all, which is why I'm not buying it. But with Amazon's being outlawed from U.S. soil, we got to see, what they're doing while Wonder Woman's trying to sort out the rest of the world, I guess. So Amazon's Attack, probably going to be interesting. Probably not essential to understanding Tom King's Wonder Woman run, but if you wanted to see some Amazon's Attack, then buy Amazon's Attack. $3.99 is the cover price on that. Next up, a new series debut from Marvel Comics. This is Captain Marvel, issue number 1. I'm not grabbing it, but it's written by Alyssa Wong, who wrote Deadpool and Dr. Aphra, and it's got art by Jen Bazaldua. Bazalda? Jen B. Not to be confused with Jen Bartel. Anyway, Jen Bazaldua is a Marvel Stormbreaker. I've not seen her art, but she does have a variant cover for this book that leads me to believe the art is going to be pretty good, if not great. But I'm not a big Captain Marvel fan, so I'm not grabbing Captain Marvel #1. But in case you are, there it is. $4.99 is the cover price on that. Next up on the radar is a book that I already own, but you might want to grab it because it's the first time it's been widely available in comic shops. This is Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer, issue #2. Written by David Crownson. There was a different artist for every issue, so I'm not sure who did art for issue #2. But it's out with these new exclusive covers to the direct market from Whatnot Publishing. So it's a really hilarious series. Like I said, if you liked Django Unchained, you're gonna like this. I should warn you, there's like Quentin Tarantino-esque gratuitous usage of the N-word, and some other like adult humor. This isn't a book for your kids to teach them about the Underground Railroad. Let's just say that. It's very much more in line with Django Unchained, The Boondocks, Black Dynamite, adult animation type stuff. So be warned. Great book though, and an awesome cover. Harriet Tubman, Demon Slayer, issue #2. Cover price on it is $3.99. And the last books I wanted to highlight on my radar are both issues of Radiant Black. Radiant Black issue 26 and 26.5 come out this week. Now, I dropped out of Radiant Black around issue 18, just because the massive verse started to blow up and I just didn't need all of that in my life. But I probably should have kept reading Radiant Black. I let myself get in the way. Kyle Higgins himself, the sort of architect of the Massiveverse, has stated numerous times, you don't have to read any of the other Massiveverse titles to enjoy any of the other Massiveverse titles. They're not codependent. Let's just call it that. So, I don't know. Maybe I jumped ship too soon. This seems really interesting. If you know anything about the title, there are two people who may or may not don the mantle of Radiant Black, and apparently they're going to have to choose between the two of them. I don't know. I haven't been keeping up with the series, and I feel like I'm missing out on something epic by not doing so. So that's on the radar. This is the beginning of the Catalyst War. So main stories in issue 26, but it does continue in issue 26.5. Each of them is from another character's point of view. So check that out. Cover price on each of them is $3.99. And those were the books on my radar this week. Even though I'm not buying them, you might be interested. Let me know what you're most excited about. And let me know if you like this format with the whole on the radar. It definitely adds like 10 minutes to these videos, but I enjoy doing them. So let me know if you enjoy watching them. Are they helpful? I don't know. Speaking of being helpful, huge shout out to the channel family, people that make content on this channel possible. You quite literally are the only reason I still have a pull list and therefore can make pull list videos every week. So huge shout out to you guys. I will see you guys in another video real soon. Until then, stay awesome and read something dope today. Peace.